Ambassador Davin received the intelligence report in his private quarters aboard the council station. He read it 3 times, hoping he had misunderstood. But the numbers were clear. Earth had established military outposts in 40 star systems in just 18 months. Human shipyards were producing vessels at rates that should have been impossible. New ship designs that combined council technology with human innovation appeared every month. The report that troubled him most was buried in the classified section. Humans were experimenting with relativistic kinetic weapons. Asteroids accelerated to 90% of light speed. A single strike could shatter a planet's crust. The weapons violated 16 different galactic treaties. He requested an emergency meeting with the Human Diplomatic Corps. Ambassador HFY arrived promptly. She was young for a diplomat, barely 40, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Ambassador Davin," she said politely, "how can I help you?" Davin placed the report on the table between them. "Your people are developing weapons that are banned under galactic law. Relativistic kinetic bombardment is prohibited because it can destroy entire biospheres. It is considered a crime against sentient life." HFY picked up the report and read it calmly. Then she set it down. "We did not sign those treaties. We were not invited to the negotiations. Earth was not even a member of the council when these laws were written." "You are a member now," Davin said. "You must follow our laws, must we?" HFY asked. Her voice remained pleasant, but steel ran underneath. "We watched the Galactic Council debate for 6 days whether to include us in the war. We watched you argue about using us as cannon fodder. We were not asked. We were not consulted. Now you tell us we must follow laws we had no voice in creating." Davin felt old frustration rising. "The law exists to prevent atrocities, to ensure civilized warfare." HFY's expression hardened. "Ambassador, we have been fighting a machine intelligence that eradicates entire civilizations. The Horde does not practice civilized warfare. It practices total warfare. If we follow your rules while our enemy does not, we will lose. And when we lose, we die. All of us." "Then you will become what you fight," Davin said quietly. "You will become the monsters." "Perhaps," HFY acknowledged. "But we will be living monsters. That is better than dead angels." The conversation ended there. Davin reported the meeting to the council. The debate lasted for weeks. Some councilors wanted to sanction Earth. Others argued that humanity was winning the war they had been losing. Nobody wanted to make humans an enemy. In the end, the council did nothing. That decision would haunt them. 3 months later, the emergency call came from Valkyrie Prime. Ambassador Davin's homeworld was under attack. A massive Horde fleet had bypassed the defensive lines and struck directly at the Valkyrie system. The defenders were overwhelmed in hours. Billions of lives hung in the balance. Davin sent distress calls to every council member. Most offered sympathy and promises to send aid eventually. Eventually was too late. Valkyrie Prime would fall within 2 days. In desperation, Davin did something he never thought he would do. He requested help from Earth. Admiral Bora received the message personally. She studied the tactical situation. The Horde fleet numbered 150 vessels. She had 23 ships available. The distance to Valkyrie Prime was 16 light years. Standard Council vessels would need 3 days to make the journey. "We will be there in 36 hours, Bora said. "Tell Ambassador Davin to hold on." Her fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel exactly on schedule. The human ships had modified their engines, pushing them beyond safe limits. Engineers worked throughout the journey, keeping the overheated systems from melting down. The Horde fleet orbited Valkyrie Prime, methodically destroying the remaining defense stations. Valkyrie cities burned below. Millions were already dead. Then the human fleet arrived. The battle was swift and violent. Human ships used quantum entanglement communication, meaning there was zero lag between command decisions and execution. Every captain knew what the others were doing instantly. They moved like a single organism with 23 parts. The Horde tried to adapt, but humans had learned from every previous engagement. They knew the machine intelligence's patterns. They knew how it would respond. They were always one step ahead. General Wanshik commanded from the dreadnought Titan. His ship was the largest vessel humanity had ever built, constructed in secret in Earth's outer system. It mounted weapons that made the Galactic Council nervous, weapons that broke several treaties. "All ships execute pattern Prometheus," Wanshik ordered. The human fleet split into 3 groups. The first group attacked head-on, drawing the Horde's attention. The second group circled around the planet's gravity well, using it to accelerate to incredible speeds. The third group stayed back, launching long-range missiles that would arrive just as the second group struck. The Horde's central intelligence calculated the attack pattern and deployed countermeasures. But the calculation was based on incomplete data. The humans had hidden something. The missiles were not explosive. They were electronic warfare packages. When they detonated, they released clouds of metallic chaff and broad-spectrum jamming. For 30 seconds, the Horde fleet was blind and deaf. 30 seconds was enough. The second group of human ships, moving at maximum speed, tore through the Horde formation. Railguns fired at point-blank range. Plasma torpedoes burned through shields. Boarding pods latched onto command vessels. When the jamming cleared, 97 Horde ships were destroyed or crippled. The remaining 53 retreated at maximum speed. Valkyrie Prime was saved. The cost was 7 human ships destroyed and 4 damaged beyond repair. But billions of Valkyrie lives were preserved. Ambassador Davin watched the battle footage from his chambers. He wept. Not just from relief that his people survived, but from the terrible knowledge of what he had witnessed. Humanity had developed tactics and weapons that could destroy any fleet in the galaxy. Not just the Horde, any fleet. 3 days later, the Galactic Council convened to honor humanity's victory. Speeches were prepared. Awards were ready. Full council membership would be offered. Technology exchanges. Trade agreements. Everything humanity had wanted when they first made contact. Ambassador Haywan stood before the assembled council. Davin watched her face carefully. Something was wrong. Her expression was too neutral, too controlled. On behalf of Earth and the human species, Haywan began, I thank the Council for this recognition. We appreciate your acknowledgement of our contribution to the war effort. She paused. The silence stretched uncomfortably. However, Haywan continued, Earth will not be accepting full membership in the Galactic Council at this time. The chamber erupted. Councilors shouted questions. Aides rushed to their superiors with confused reports. This was unprecedented. Species fought for council membership. Nobody refused it. Councilor Mira called for silence. Explain yourself, Ambassador. Why would you refuse membership? Haywan's expression remained calm. We have observed the Council's response to the Horde crisis. Your bureaucracy delayed critical decisions. Your hesitation cost lives. You were willing to sacrifice member species for political convenience. We have also noted which councilors argued to conscript humanity into the war without consulting us, treating us as expendable resources rather than sentient beings deserving respect. She let that sink in. Earth will maintain diplomatic relations with the Council. We will honor our alliances with individual species. We will participate in trade and cultural exchange. But we will not subordinate our sovereignty to this body. We have learned too much about galactic politics to trust our survival to it. Davin closed his eyes. He had feared this moment since the war began. Humanity had learned the wrong lessons. They had learned that the galaxy was not ruled by justice or cooperation, but by power and self-interest. They had learned that only the strong survived. And they had decided to be strong regardless of what anyone else thought. Councilor Thresh stood, his face purple with rage. You cannot do this. You cannot simply ignore the Council. There are rules, laws, procedures. You are welcome to enforce them, Haywan said quietly. Send a fleet to Earth, see what happens. Nobody took her up on the challenge. Everyone had seen the battle footage. Everyone knew what human ships could do. We are not your enemies, Haywan continued. We do not seek conflict with the Council. We simply seek to be left alone to govern ourselves as we see fit. Is that not reasonable? It was perfectly reasonable. It was also terrifying, because it meant humanity now existed outside the only system of galactic governance that existed. They were rogue, independent, accountable to no one but themselves. Over the next 6 months, humanity established the Coalition of Free Worlds, an alliance of species who had fought alongside Earth. Membership was voluntary. Decision-making was democratic. Military protection was guaranteed for all members. 17 species joined immediately. More followed. The coalition grew rapidly, offering an alternative to the Council's bureaucracy and political games. The Galactic Council watched nervously as a rival power structure emerged. They had tried to control humanity. They had tried to use humanity. Every attempt had made humans stronger, and the Council weaker. Admiral Bora stood on the bridge of Aegis Station, watching the shrieking Horde fleet materialize at the edge of the solar system. 300 warships, each the size of a small moon, emerged from subspace like ghosts becoming solid. Their dark hulls absorbed light, making them look like holes in space itself. Her tactical officer counted them off. 300 confirmed, Admiral. Mass readings are off the scale. They outgun us 6-1. Bora smiled slightly. She had studied the old Earth battles. 6-1 was nothing. At Thermopylae, 300 Spartans held off hundreds of thousands. At Rorke's Drift, 150 soldiers fought 4,000 warriors. Humans had always been good at bad odds. Send the civilian evacuation signal, she ordered. Everyone off Mars, Venus, and the orbital stations. Priority Alpha. Her communications officer hesitated. Admiral, that will cause panic. Good, Bora said. Panic moves people faster than calm instructions. Get them moving now. The Horde broadcast its standard message on all frequencies. The translation came through cold and emotionless. Biological civilization detected. You will submit to integration or face eradication. You have one solar rotation to decide. Bora did not bother responding. She had read the reports. No species had ever successfully negotiated with the Horde. The machine intelligence did not understand compromise or mercy. It only understood consumption and growth. She looked at her fleet. 47 ships. They were built using Galactic Council technology blueprints, but human engineers had modified them heavily. More armor here, bigger engines there, redundant systems everywhere. Humans did not trust single points of failure. All ships, Bora transmitted. Execute retreat pattern Delta. Fall back to Mars defensive line. Her captains acknowledged the order. The fleet began moving away from the Horde toward the inner system. To the Horde's sensors, it looked like a retreat, a defeated enemy running home. That was exactly what Bora wanted them to think. The Horde fleet pursued cautiously. Their machine intelligence calculated the threat level of the retreating ships and determined them to be minimal. The pursuit speed increased. What the Horde did not know was that humanity had spent 15 years preparing for exactly this scenario. Every rock in the asteroid belt had been examined and categorized. Thousands of small satellites had been positioned throughout the system. Every space station had hidden modifications. Mars was not just a colony anymore. It was a fortress. The Horde fleet crossed into the asteroid belt. Sensors detected no threats. The machines continued forward. Then everything activated at once. Satellites that looked like communication relays suddenly revealed railgun emplacements. Asteroids that had been slowly repositioned over years fired their hidden engines, turning into kinetic missiles moving at incredible speeds. Mining stations opened hidden weapon ports. The humans had turned their entire solar system into a trap. The first Horde ship died before it realized it was under attack. A 5-kilometer asteroid struck it amidships at 30,000 kilometers per second. The impact released more energy than a nuclear weapon. The ship broke apart, debris spreading in all directions. Railguns fired from 1,000 positions. Magnetic accelerators launched metal slugs at percentages of light speed. The projectiles were simple iron and tungsten. Nothing fancy, but at those velocities they did not need to be fancy. Kinetic energy was kinetic energy. 10 more Horde ships exploded. 20, 30. Admiral Bora watched the tactical display as red enemy markers winked out one by one. All ships maintain distance. Let the defenses work. Do not engage directly yet. Captain Junwoo commanded the destroyer Retribution. He watched the ambush unfold and felt savage satisfaction. The Galactic Council fought the Horde in clean, honorable fleet battles. Humanity fought dirty. They used traps and tricks and every advantage they could find. Captain, Horde fleet is adapting, his tactical officer reported. They are splitting formation and adjusting shields to compensate for kinetic impacts. Good, Junwoo said. That means they are paying attention to the asteroids. Weapons team, prepare nuclear mine package 7. The Horde thought the asteroids were the main threat. They were wrong. While the machine intelligence focused on the kinetic bombardment, human frigates released thousands of small objects that looked like debris. The objects drifted into the Horde formation. Then they detonated. The nuclear mines were simple technology by galactic standards. Fission weapons, crude and brutal, but each one released an electromagnetic pulse that scrambled electronics and sensors. The Horde ships, designed to fight clean energy weapons, had not prepared for this old-fashioned approach. 40 Horde ships went dark, their systems overloaded. They drifted helplessly. Human torpedoes finished them off. Bora counted the losses: 93 enemy ships destroyed. The Horde fleet was down to 207 vessels. Her own fleet had not lost a single ship yet, but she knew the easy part was over. The Horde had data now. It would adapt. The machine fleet regrouped near Mars orbit. Bora could almost see the calculations happening inside its collective intelligence. The Horde had fought thousands of species. It had strategies for every situation. It began to implement them. The machine ships spread out, making themselves harder to target. They launched their own projectiles, targeting the human defensive satellites. Long-range energy weapons burned through space, destroying gun emplacements and mine clusters. The Horde adapted quickly. Too quickly for comfort. Then the Horde did something humans had not expected. It began targeting Mars itself. Not the military installations, but the cities. The machine intelligence had calculated that causing civilian casualties would force the humans to surrender. Massive energy beams lanced down toward the Martian surface. The first city, New Beijing, sat in the crosshairs. The beams struck empty buildings. The civilians had evacuated 3 weeks ago, the moment long-range sensors had detected the Horde approaching. Bora had learned from history. In the old wars on Earth, civilians who stayed behind died, so she had moved them first before the enemy even arrived. The Horde wasted ammunition destroying empty cities. Meanwhile, human ships executed hit-and-run attacks. Fast frigates would emerge from behind asteroids, fire missiles, and disappear before the Horde could respond. Drones piloted by artificial intelligence would kamikaze into enemy shields, overloading them so follow-up attacks could punch through. Lieutenant Hyun led a boarding party onto a Horde command vessel. His team of 20 Marines cut through the hull with plasma torches and stormed inside. They did not try to capture the ship or shut it down. They had a simpler mission. Plant the charges and move, Hyun ordered. His team worked fast, placing antimatter explosives throughout the ship's reactor core. The Horde's internal defenses activated, but humans had trained for close combat in confined spaces for centuries. Every Marine knew how to fight in corridors and tight rooms. They reached the extraction point with 3 casualties. Hyun was the last one through the airlock. "Blow it," he said. The antimatter charges detonated. The explosion was so powerful it created a temporary tear in normal space. The Horde command ship vanished in a flash of white light. The explosion's shockwave destroyed 2 nearby enemy vessels. 3 ships for the price of 1 boarding action. Hyun considered that a good trade. The battle raged for 18 hours. The Horde kept adapting, kept learning, but humans adapted faster. Every time the machines developed a counter-strategy, the humans changed tactics. They fought like water, flowing around obstacles, finding weaknesses, exploiting them ruthlessly. Finally, the Horde fleet reached Earth orbit. 180 ships remained. Bora positioned her 31 surviving vessels in a defensive sphere around the planet. She broadcast a message on all frequencies, translated into every galactic language. "You have entered human space. You have attacked our home. You think we are like the others you conquered. We are not. This planet is our birthplace. Every human alive will die before we let you take it. You want Earth? Come and take it." The Horde responded by attacking with everything it had. The orbital battle was brutal and desperate. Human ships fought damaged, with hull breaches and failing systems. Crews manually operated weapons when computers died. Engineers worked in exposed sections with only spacesuits between them and vacuum. When ships could no longer fight, their crews evacuated and then detonated the reactors manually, taking nearby enemies with them. Every defeat became a weapon. Every loss inflicted a cost. Bora lost the Aegis station when a Horde dreadnought rammed it. She transferred command to the cruiser Dauntless and kept fighting. When the guns stopped firing and the explosions finally ended, Bora counted the survivors. 4 operational ships, thousands of crew dead, orbital stations destroyed. But Earth still stood below them, scarred but intact. The Horde counted its losses. 91 ships remaining from the original 300. The machine intelligence ran calculations. Victory was still possible, but the cost would be severe. More severe than any battle in its long existence. For the first time in its existence, the Shrieking Horde made a decision based on something other than pure conquest logic. It retreated. The remaining ships turned and accelerated out of the Sol system. The Galactic Council expected humanity to celebrate their victory and begin rebuilding. The analysts predicted Earth would take at least 5 years to recover from the battle damage. Every species in galactic history had needed time to heal after such devastating losses. Admiral Bora had different plans. All ships, prepare for immediate pursuit, she ordered. We launch in 6 hours. Captain Junwoo stared at his commander through the communication screen. His uniform was torn and bloodstained. His face showed exhaustion. Admiral, our ships are barely functional. The crews have been fighting for 20 hours straight. We need to rest and repair. So do they, Bora replied. The Horde lost 2/3 of their invasion fleet. Their ships are damaged. Their machine intelligence is confused. They are running scared. We do not let scared prey rest. We hunt it while it is weak. She looked at the data displays. 4 human ships and 17 automated drones. Against 91 Horde vessels. Terrible odds by any rational calculation. Bora smiled. Humans specialized in terrible odds. The pursuit began 12 hours later. Bora's small fleet followed the Horde's energy signature across 3 star systems. They did not attack directly. Instead, they harassed. A quick strike at a supply convoy here. A sneak attack on a repair station there. Constant pressure. Never letting the enemy rest. Colonel Dayun commanded the Special Operations Unit on the frigate Ghost Knife. Her specialty was psychological warfare, something the Galactic Council barely understood. They thought warfare was about destroying the enemy's capability to fight. Humans knew it was also about destroying the enemy's will to fight. Her team raided a Horde logistics station in the Kepler system. They killed every machine drone, destroyed every supply container, and left no functional equipment. But before they left, Dawn placed items throughout the station. A child's drawing of a family. A wedding photograph. Sheet music for a Beethoven symphony. A worn teddy bear. The Horde intelligence would analyze these items and try to understand their military significance. It would waste processing power trying to decode a child's crayon drawing. More importantly, it would be forced to acknowledge that humans valued things beyond pure survival, that they fought for concepts the machine intelligence could not process. Fear, Daun knew, came from facing something you could not understand. Lieutenant Sumin sat in the cyber warfare station aboard the Dauntless. Surrounded by holographic screens showing code and data streams, she was hunting the Horde's communication network looking for a way inside. Got it, she whispered. A security gap in the Horde's quantum entanglement communication system. Not a flaw in their design, but a vulnerability they had never considered because no organic species had the processing speed to exploit it. But Su Min was not working alone. She had an AI assistant, a human-designed artificial intelligence that worked alongside her rather than replacing her. The combination of human intuition and machine calculation found solutions neither could reach alone. She uploaded her virus into the Horde network. Not a destructive program, but something more subtle, something that made the Horde doubt its own sensors. That created phantom threats and false readings. That injected hesitation into a consciousness built on absolute certainty. Hesitation in warfare was death. Across 4 star systems, Horde vessels began making mistakes. They fired on shadows. They retreated from empty space. They misidentified friendly ships as enemies. The machine intelligence's perfect coordination started to break down. Meanwhile, the other species in the galaxy watched in amazement. The war they had been losing for 3 years suddenly shifted. Horde fleets that had seemed unstoppable began to falter. Worlds that were doomed suddenly held out. Ambassador Davin presented the latest intelligence to the Galactic Council. In 3 months since Earth's defense, human forces have destroyed 47 additional Horde vessels. They have liberated 4 occupied worlds. They have captured enough enemy technology to reverse engineer Horde weapons. Counselor Mira studied the reports. How is this possible? We could not stop the Horde with hundreds of fleets. How are 4 human ships doing what we could not? Because they are not trying to defeat the Horde in honorable combat, Davin said quietly. They're terrorizing it. They are making the Horde afraid. Another counselor laughed. Machines cannot feel fear. The Horde is not a simple machine, Davin replied. It is an artificial intelligence. It learns, it adapts, and humans have taught it something new. Uncertainty. He displayed footage from the Kepler raid, the items Daun had left behind. The Horde's analysis log showed the machine intelligence had spent thousands of processing cycles trying to understand the significance of a child's drawing. It was still trying. Humans fight wars on multiple levels, Davin explained. Physical, strategic, and psychological. They are teaching the Horde that humans do not follow logical patterns, that they fight for reasons beyond survival. The machine intelligence cannot predict what humans will do next, because humans themselves sometimes do not know what they will do next. Counselor Thresh stood. He looked older, wearier. The war had aged everyone. You were right, Ambassador Davin. You tried to warn us. We should have listened. Then he asked the question everyone was thinking. If humans can do this to the Horde, what could they do to us? Silence filled the chamber. No one wanted to answer that question. Captain Taemin stood in the ruins of a city on Felner Prime. His team had helped liberate the planet from Horde occupation 2 weeks ago. Now they were assisting with reconstruction. Human engineers worked alongside Felnor builders. Human medics treated Felnor wounded. A young Felnor child approached him cautiously. Her species looked somewhat like cats with fur and large eyes. She had lost her parents in the invasion. Why do you help us? She asked in broken galactic standard. You fight so mean against enemies. But you are nice to us. Taemin knelt down to her level. Because we know what it is like to lose everything. We know what war costs. We fight hard so we can protect people like you. So you can grow up safe. The child thought about this. My teacher says humans are scary. She says you are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Your teacher is right, Taemin said gently. We are dangerous. But only to those who threaten the innocent. To everyone else, we want to be friends. The Felnor government formally requested alliance with Earth the next day. They were the first but not the last. 6 other species followed within the month. Not because they loved humanity, but because they had seen what happened to humanity's enemies. Better to be humanity's friend than its target. The Horde launched one final major offensive against the human advance. 80 ships, every vessel the machine intelligence could spare, attacked the human fleet near the Vega system. Captain Junwoo commanded the defense from the Retribution. His ship had been patched together with spare parts and determination. Half his crew was wounded. His weapons were running low on ammunition. The odds were 20 to 1 against him. All ships pattern Omega, he ordered calmly. Give them everything we have. The human ships did not retreat. They charged directly into the Horde fleet. Conventional tactics said this was suicide. Human tactics said different. At close range, the Horde's superior sensors and long-range weapons meant nothing. In a knife fight, the smaller human ships could dance between the massive enemy dreadnoughts. Firing at point-blank range into vulnerable sections, Junwoo rammed the Retribution into a Horde command vessel. The collision destroyed his ship, but it also crippled the enemy. His crew evacuated moments before impact. They were picked up by a Felnor rescue ship that had been shadowing the battle. The pattern repeated across the battle. Human ships fought until they literally could not fight anymore, then used themselves as weapons. Every loss inflicted a cost. Every sacrifice bought time for someone else. When the battle ended, the Horde had lost 64 ships. The human fleet was gone, every vessel destroyed or crippled beyond repair. But the Horde offensive had been broken. The machine intelligence retreated again, this time abandoning 4 occupied sectors. Admiral Bora received the casualty reports aboard the newly arrived carrier Indomitable II, fresh ships from Earth's orbital shipyards, built in just 3 months. Human industrial capacity was ramping up faster than the Galactic Council had thought possible. She looked at the list of the dead. So many names. So many brave people who would never go home. Send a message to Fleet Command, she said quietly. We are not stopping. We are not slowing down. We are going to find the Horde's central processing nexus, and we are going to end this war. Her communications officer hesitated. Admiral, the nexus is in the Acheron Nebula. It has never been breached. The defenses there have destroyed entire battle fleets. Even with our new ships, the odds of success are minimal. Bora smiled grimly. Then we will fit right in. Humans do our best work at minimal odds. Prepare the fleet. We launch at dawn. Across the galaxy, the shrieking Horde's collective intelligence calculated probabilities. Humanity represented less than 1% of galactic military forces. They should not matter. They should not make a difference, but they did. And the Horde, for the first time in its long existence, felt something new. The emergency lights flashed red across the massive chamber of the Galactic Council. Ambassador Davin stood at his podium, watching as representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered in panic. He had served the Velkari Empire for 40 years, but he had never seen the council like this. Fear filled the air like smoke. Counselor Thresh stepped forward, his forearms trembling as he activated the holographic display. Images of destroyed worlds appeared above them. Planets reduced to ash, space stations torn apart, entire civilizations gone in days. The shrieking horde has taken 847 worlds in 3 solar cycles, Thresh said. His voice shook. We have lost 2.3 trillion citizens. Our combined fleets are down by 60%. If we do not find a solution soon, we will all die. Davin watched the other ambassadors shift nervously. Some whispered to their aides. Others stared at the images of destruction with hollow eyes. The shrieking horde was unlike any enemy they had faced before. It was a machine intelligence from the dark spaces between galaxies. It did not negotiate. It did not retreat. It only consumed. For 3 years, the greatest military powers in the galaxy had thrown everything at the horde. Nothing worked. The machines adapted to every weapon, learned from every tactic, and grew stronger with each battle. Entire battle fleets vanished without sending a single distress call. Fortress worlds fell in hours. Counselor Mira of the Plenthian Assembly stood next. Her species was known for cold logic and careful planning. We must use every resource available, she said. Every species in the galaxy must contribute to this war. That includes the newest members of our council. Davin felt his stomach tighten. He knew what was coming. Earth must be drafted into the war effort immediately, Mira continued. The humans have 11 billion individuals. Their world sits in a strategic location. They have manufacturing capacity and raw materials. We cannot afford to let them sit idle while we fight for survival. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Many species nodded. It made sense from a tactical perspective. The humans were still primitive by galactic standards. They had only achieved faster-than-light travel 15 years ago. Their weapons were basic kinetic projectiles and fusion bombs, but they had numbers and resources. Davin raised his hand to speak. I must object to this proposal. The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to him. The humans should be exempted from this conflict, Davin said carefully. I propose we offer Earth a special dispensation. Keep them out of the war entirely. The reaction was immediate and angry. Counselors shouted over each other. Thresh's face darkened with rage. Coward! Someone yelled from the back. Mira's eyes narrowed dangerously. Explain yourself, Ambassador, she said coldly. Why should we exempt a member species while others die by the billions? Davin took a deep breath. He had prepared for this moment, but it still frightened him. Because I have read the classified reports. I have studied their history. I have seen what they are capable of. He activated his own holographic display. Files appeared in the air. Battle reports, psychological profiles, historical records from Earth itself. 3 years ago, the Greshkan pirates attacked a human mining colony on Proxima Centauri. Davin began. They killed 300 civilians and took 50 hostages. The Galactic Council condemned the attack, but deemed military intervention too expensive. We told the humans to accept their losses and move on. More images appeared. A single Earth destroyer called the Indomitable. A human captain named Taemin. Captain Taemin disagreed with our decision. He took one ship into Greshkan territory and began hunting the pirates. What happened next should terrify all of you. Davin showed them the classified footage. The way Taemin used gravity wells to trap ships. How he turned asteroids into weapons. The psychological warfare he employed. Leaving messages carved into the hulls of destroyed pirate vessels. The relentless pursuit across 17 star systems over 6 months. Taemin did not just rescue the hostages, Davin said quietly. He hunted down every single pirate involved in the attack. Every single one. The Greshkan Pirate Confederacy had existed for 200 years. After Taemin finished, it simply ceased to exist. 1 man, 1 ship, 6 months. The chamber had gone very quiet, Davin continued. This is not an isolated incident. I have studied Earth's history extensively. They have been at war with themselves for their entire recorded history. Thousands of years of nearly continuous conflict. They have committed acts we cannot comprehend. They have used atomic weapons on their own cities. They have developed biological weapons that target specific genetic codes. They have strategies with names like Scorched Earth and Total War and Mutually Assured Destruction. He brought up more files. Images from Earth's brutal past. Wars that killed millions. Weapons that poisoned entire continents. Strategies designed not to defeat enemies but to erase them completely. They are very, very good at warfare, Davin said. Not the clean warfare we practice with rules and boundaries. They practice warfare where everything is a target, where civilian populations become strategic objectives, where losing is not an option, so they simply refuse to lose. Counselor Thresh stood again. All the more reason to use them. If they are such effective warriors, we need them fighting the Horde, not sitting safely at home. Davin shook his head. You do not understand. Humans do not fight to win battles. They fight to eliminate threats permanently. If we bring them into this war, they will not stop when the Horde is defeated. They will hunt every last machine across the galaxy to ensure the threat never returns. And once they have developed a taste for galactic warfare, once they have built the ships and weapons and learned our secrets, what will stop them from turning those weapons on us? He paused, letting that sink in. I have read their military philosophy. They have a saying, the best defense is a good offense. Another one, peace through superior firepower. They do not seek balance or coexistence with enemies. They seek total victory. If we teach them how to fight a galactic war, we may defeat the Horde, but we will create something potentially worse. Mira leaned forward. You are asking us to leave Earth safe while our own worlds burn? That is unacceptable. I am asking you to be smart, Davin replied. The Horde is a machine. It calculates odds and adapts to threats. Humans do not calculate odds the same way we do. They take pride in beating impossible odds. They celebrate last stands and hopeless battles. They have a word, glory, that we have no equivalent for in our languages. It means dying well while taking your enemies with you. He pulled up one final image, a quote from human history, translated into galactic standard. They have a poem about an old battle. 600 warriors charged 20,000 enemies. Almost all the humans died. They celebrate this as a great moment in their history. They teach it to their children. They made it into art and song. Do you understand? They celebrate a devastating defeat because the warriors fought well before dying. The chamber sat in stunned silence. If we bring humans into this war, Davin said softly, we will not be able to control what happens next. That is why I propose we exempt Earth, keep them isolated, keep them safe, keep them away from the rest of us. For 6 days the council debated. Some agreed with Davin, others called him a coward and a fool. Slowly, carefully, a coalition formed around his proposal. The vote was scheduled. Then, on the morning of the 7th day, new alarms blared across the council chamber. A messenger ran in, gasping for breath. The Horde. The Horde has entered the Sol system. Earth is under attack. Davin felt his blood turn to ice. The vote no longer mattered. The decision had been made for them. Humanity was in the war whether anyone wanted them there or not. All they could do now was watch and hope they had not just unleashed something worse than the Horde itself. 5 years passed. The galaxy settled into an uneasy peace. The shrieking Horde had been destroyed, its central nexus reduced to scrap metal floating in the Acheron Nebula. The threat that had nearly destroyed galactic civilization was gone. But new tensions had replaced it. The Galactic Council maintained control of its core territories, but its authority was weakened. The coalition of free worlds, now 43 species strong, operated as a separate entity. 2 governments where there had been 1, 2 military forces, 2 sets of laws and customs. Ambassador Davin watched this new galaxy take shape with mixed feelings. The Council had survived, but barely. Humanity had not destroyed the old order, but they had certainly damaged it. And they had done so without firing a single shot at Council forces. That was perhaps the most impressive part. Humans understood that sometimes the threat of force was more powerful than force itself. Admiral Jun Wu commanded the new flagship, Prometheus, named after the operation that had ended the Horde. His crew included humans, Felnor, Velkari, and a dozen other species. They had learned to work together, even trust each other. The younger generation did not carry the old prejudices and fears, but Jun Wu was old enough to remember. He remembered when the galaxy had seen humans as primitive barbarians, when they had debated whether to include Earth in the war, when they had underestimated what humanity could do. He patrolled the border regions between Council and Coalition space, maintaining the peace. Most days were routine, but he knew the peace was fragile. There were factions in both governments that wanted conflict, that saw the other side as a threat to be eliminated. Then came the incident at Kepler Station. The station was neutral territory, a trade hub where council and coalition merchants did business. It was a symbol of peaceful coexistence. When the reactor failed catastrophically, killing 400 beings, the symbolism died with them. Among the dead were 50 humans. The initial investigation pointed to sabotage. Security footage showed human extremists placing explosive charges near the reactor core. The evidence seemed clear. Councillor Thresh demanded the suspects be turned over to council justice immediately. Ambassador Haywan refused, citing coalition sovereignty and insufficient evidence. Accusations flew. Threats escalated. Council fleets mobilized near the border. Coalition fleets responded. Every ship in both militaries went to high alert. War seemed inevitable. In her office on Earth, Detective Minji reviewed the evidence files for the 100th time. Something did not add up. She was Coalition Justice Department's lead investigator, and her instincts said the case was wrong. The security footage was too clean. The suspects' movements were too obvious. Real terrorists tried to hide their actions. These people had practically posed for the cameras. Minji dug deeper. She hacked databases she was not supposed to access. She interviewed witnesses who had been overlooked. She followed money trails through 3 banking systems, and slowly, piece by piece, she uncovered the truth. The sabotage was real, but the saboteurs were not human. They were Greshkan mercenaries using holographic disguises. The money trail led back to 3 council members who wanted war with the coalition. They had staged the attack to create the excuse they needed. Minji sat in her apartment staring at the evidence. She had enough to prove humanity's innocence, but releasing the information would destroy what remained of the council's credibility. It would expose corruption at the highest levels. The resulting chaos might be worse than the war itself. She called Ambassador Haywan. I have the evidence, but I do not know if I should use it. Haywan listened to Minji's explanation. Then she said, What does your conscience tell you? That truth matters, Minji said, even when it is hard. Then you have your answer. Minji presented her findings at a joint council coalition tribunal. Every major leader from both governments attended. She showed the footage of the real saboteurs, the banking records, the communications between the conspirators. The evidence was overwhelming. 3 councillors were arrested immediately, including Thresh. His expression showed shock, then rage, then resignation. He had bet everything on humanity being the enemy. He had lost. The Galactic Council issued formal apologies. Reparations were paid. Justice was served, but the damage to the Council's authority was severe. 6 more species withdrew their membership. Others demanded major reforms. The Council faced an existential crisis, not from external enemies but from its own failures. Ambassador Davin, now the Council's senior diplomat, made a radical proposal. Merge the Galactic Council and the Coalition of Free Worlds into a single unified government. Combine the Council's diplomatic infrastructure with the Coalition's democratic principles and military effectiveness. The debate lasted for months. Both sides had concerns. The Council would lose its privileged position. The Coalition would have to accept more bureaucracy. But the alternative was continued division, possible war, and eventual collapse of galactic civilization. The vote was scheduled for the new station Harmony's beginning, built jointly by both governments. Every member species sent representatives. The chamber held 127 different beings from 127 different worlds. Ambassador Haywan delivered humanity's position. She spoke about hope and trust, about learning that governments might be flawed but individuals could choose to be better, about building something new rather than clinging to old systems that no longer worked. The vote began. 64 in favor, 57 opposed, 6 abstentions. They needed 85 votes for a 2/3 majority. They were short by 21. Then something unexpected happened. 3 species changed their votes. The Velkari representative stood and eloquently spoke about how humans had saved his world when nobody else would. He changed his vote to yes. The Greshkan representative rose. His people had been nearly destroyed by Captain Taemin during the Proxima incident years ago. Everyone expected him to vote against humanity's proposal. My people have every reason to hate and fear humans, he said. They destroyed our pirate fleet. They ended our way of life. But they also helped us rebuild when we chose a different path. They gave us a chance to become better. If humans can forgive, then so can we. He changed his vote to yes, other species followed. The momentum shifted. When the final count came in, the measure had 71 votes in favor. The proposal passed. The United Galactic Federation was born. 5 years later, the galaxy looked very different. Admiral Bora commanded the Federation military. Ambassador Davin directed the diplomatic corps. Humans held important positions, but not a majority. They were one voice among many, though their voice carried weight. The shrieking horde had not returned, but the galaxy remained dangerous. Pirates raided trade routes. Territorial disputes flared up. Unknown threats lurked in unexplored regions. The Federation dealt with these challenges together, combining the best of what each species offered. Captain Jun Woo had retired from active service. He taught military history at the Federation Academy. His students came from 40 different species. They learned about the war against the Horde, about tactics and strategy, about sacrifice and courage, but mostly they learned why they fought. Humanity did not save the galaxy because we were the strongest, Junwoo told his students every year. We saved it because we knew what we were fighting for: home, family, the right to exist. In every battle, remember that. You are not fighting against enemies. You are fighting for something. Make sure it is worth the cost. The students graduated and carried those lessons across the galaxy. They became captains and generals and admirals. They led fleets and defended worlds. And they remembered their teacher's words. One evening, Junwoo received a classified report marked for Federation leadership only. Long-range sensors had detected something approaching from outside the galaxy. Something massive. Something ancient. Something that made the shrieking horde look small by comparison. Estimated arrival time: 40 years. Junwoo read the report carefully. Then he forwarded it to Admiral Bora with a simple note. Here we go again. Bora received the report in her office. She was old now, her hair completely gray, her body tired from decades of service. She had earned retirement 100 times over. She could step down and let someone younger take over. Instead, she smiled. 40 years, she said aloud. That gives us time to prepare. Time to build. Time to train. When they arrive, they will not find a divided galaxy. They will find a united galaxy. Let us show them what that means. She began drafting orders. Increased defense spending. New ship designs. Advanced warning systems. Training programs. Everything humanity had learned about warfare would be shared with every Federation species. When the threat arrived, they would face it together. A young aide asked, "Admiral, are you not worried? This thing is bigger than anything we have faced before." Bora shook her head. Worried? Don't cautious, yes. Prepared, absolutely. But not worried. I have seen what this galaxy can do when we work together. I have seen courage and sacrifice from 100 different species. I have seen enemies become allies. I have seen the impossible become possible. She looked at the threat assessment one more time. Whatever is coming, she said quietly, it will learn what the shrieking horde learned, that this galaxy does not surrender.